Hi, everybody. Welcome to Your Life Projectized. Today is episode number 26. And FYI, I should share 26 is one of my lucky numbers just because that happens to be the day that I am born. But today's episode is around a very popular topic that we have discussed on this podcast before, but we are going to talk about it again. Today's topic is early adopter, revolutionizing finance with generative AI. So I have an early adopter on the phone with me today. And on the line is my friend, my colleague, and a fellow project manager extraordinaire, Harinder Singh. So Harinder ji, and by the way, guys, you'll notice me saying G a lot. And as I've mentioned in previous podcast, Harinder Singh is a fellow member of my community, which is the Punjabi Sikh community, and Ji is just a form of showing respect. So you will hear me saying Harinder Ji often. So Harinder Ji, Sat Sri Akal, why don't you introduce yourself and let the audience know a little bit about you?
Sat Sri Akal, Parmjit, thanks for having me today. And as you rightly pointed out, we are from the same community, and I am excited to share whatever wisdom or knowledge I have acquired on this exciting journey of generative AI. And it is always very close to my heart. And in terms of my journey so far, throughout in my career, I was always blessed to be a part of transformational project programs.
Hmm.
And I have been blessed also to be a part of many of the challenging programs which I was able to bring them back to green from the red status.
Wow.
So that's what excites me whenever there is an opportunity to go for a new technology or a new initiative where it has some transformational capabilities to the organization. I will always raise my hand, and that's the reason I'm here. I'm excited to share the journey which I recently completed as phase one for my current employer, which I'm proud of. And with the result of that, we got the Project of the Year award as well.
Wow. Wow.
That's in about me. In short, I'm a PMP certified. I do volunteer for PMI Global and PMI Local Chapter. I'm on their board, serving as the vice president for this year. I also do volunteer for Toastmasters International. And incidentally, I'm the president of our chapter club also. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
about me.
Wow. So Harinder Paji. So that's a, first of all, that's amazing. So that speaks volumes about you and the kind of person you are. And I think even the fact, right, that you are volunteering in so many different organizations, I think that says a lot. And I love that you're part of Toastmasters. So I'm not part of Toastmasters, but I'm part of the National Speaker Association here in Las Vegas. And I know what a value add is that to our professional lives to be part of organizations like Toastmasters and National Speaker Association. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm really excited about today's topic, right? Because I have had, so I've talked about AI on my podcast before, but what is particularly interesting to me in this podcast, or this episode, I should say, is that you are an early adopter. And so I would really love to pick your brain about maybe some of the lessons that you learned and some different things that you experienced as an early adopter. And so one of my first questions, Harinderji, is what inspired you to be an early adopter of generative AI, specifically in finance? And what was the problem that you were trying to solve?
Awesome. That's a great question. And Parmjit, I am fortunate to be a part of this organization where I'm working for. And the organization, one of the key mandate or objective is to always look for enhancing the customer experience.
Yeah.
At the same time, empowering the internal employees. And that was the main driver. They wanted to leverage this latest state of the art technology
Hmm.
to available to them. And I'm fortunate to be a part of that journey, which helped us go. use some of the use case in step-by-step approach, because in the banking sector or in the financial sector, risk is one of the factor which has to be taken into consideration while
Sure.
embarking on this state-of-the-art technologies or the tool set capabilities. So for this program or project, we are continually going on phase by phase manner, but we were
Okay.
able to enhance the customers as well as our internal employee experience in terms of providing that capabilities to our end users. The examples are like, the call center features or capabilities where you can refer to some of the internal documentations or procedures with the help of the call center agent using the chatbot capabilities to reduce the wait time of people like yourself and me as end users. So that's the kind of exciting capabilities we have built in our phase one, and we are going to be building on further, adding or enhancing the capabilities for our end users in other areas of our business operations.
I love that. I love that. And so now, so I'm curious. So so you talked a little bit about maybe banking and doing this in finance. So I'm curious to know, Harinder, what were some of, again, a lot of my background is in healthcare. So I know the different facets of healthcare and, some of the things that we need to take into consideration, right? When using anything, where we have to take into consideration PII, ensuring that patient health information is not being shared, and things like that. So thinking about that, thinking about governance, were there any governance concerns in the finance or banking industry related to the use of generative AI?
Absolutely, and you sort of said it correctly. Compliance and regulation is always on the top of in the banking segment also.
Yeah.
And we had the representative or the stakeholders from both the sides who were helping us expedite the validation of the model chosen, not only in terms of whether it is complying in terms of the other biases, because we have to comply to those regulations, and in terms of the other standards, the security aspects, the involving of our enterprise security
Mm-hmm.
professionals to make sure our application, whatever we are going to be deploying on the cloud and enabling it to our internal staff who are going to be providing the end benefits to our end users, it is all secure, reliable, and those stakeholders were pretty much part of our project program journey.
Okay, oh, terrific. And so, Harinder, also, so of course, you are a project professional, right? You've had so many roles. You've helped take projects, as you mentioned earlier, right, from red to green. And we know, all right, as PMs, we know what a big deal that is, right? To be able to take a project that is, I don't even like to use the word failing, but essentially it's failing, right? But to reviving that. But even given your experience, were there any things that happened maybe when you were implementing generative AI, right, in your organization that maybe you did not expect? Anything that was surprising that you thought, huh, I didn't expect that I would run into this.
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. When you are using this new technologies or new tool set capabilities, it always brings some of its challenges. For example, having a robust sort of relationship with the vendors who are supporting those, because it's a very fast-pacing, rapidly using technology where the shelf life of the model which you have chosen during the proof of concept phase, and when you're
Mm-hmm.
going into the execution phase, that shelf life may become or pose a challenge to you. And then you need to keep the wheels moving on a faster pace, quicker pace, so that you're not running out of the support from the vendor because you are targeting to deploy it to the end users and for the people who'll be using that application. So you have to ensure. So we had those sort of challenges while doing this implementation. and other challenges which eventually we are going to be remediating that to have multi-vendor approach. And the third challenge, if I need to bring it, try to train and retain your internal staff rather than relying on the vendor resources, because it is going to help you in the post deployment scenario when you are supporting that application. It will save you cost in the longer run, and it will also help you have your internal team which can support in a post deployment scenario.
I love that. And those are such great tips. That is such great tips, such great advice. And but so you talked about your project team and you talked about your stakeholders. I'm now curious because I think all of us have experienced, right? Stakeholders that maybe push back on what we are trying to do. And right, sometimes there are a lot of us that are excited about this new tool, technology, process, etc. But sometimes you have those stakeholders that maybe are not have not yet bought in to what you are trying to do or trying to deliver. Did you experience any of that? Did you have any stakeholders that, and of course, I know we won't get into specifics, but did you have any stakeholders that maybe gave that pushed back a little bit?
Actually, Paramjit, I would agree with yourself. Whenever you're going for this large new initiatives,
Mm-hmm.
it requires the support and backing of your senior stakeholders, your champions, and your sponsors. I would say we were very fortunate to have the buy-in from the top of the house, because this is the new technology and everybody was well aware the tangible benefits it's going to bring and the non-tangible advantages it's going to bring. So we got a lot of support and buy-in from the top, which helped us move and overcome the other challenges, because the other challenges were how to deal with the vendor scenario when you are going with one or two limited sort of vendors, how to deal with the uncertainty of the model which we are going to be deploying from the OpenAI. OpenAI is a open source platform, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to ensure a middle vendor who is a reputed vendor who can ensure the continuity and the support of this open source models, which is a great, I would say, like it is a uh, something revolutionary thing which has happened with the chat GPT. We all have seen that the wave or the surge which triggered in October 2023 onwards, and our organization rightfully decided to embark on this journey. And we are
Yeah.
known for adopting all this latest state of the art technologies, but again, in a very controlled manner, with a risk averse approach, and with the blessings of all the regulatory compliance and all the security experts vetting all the aspects of the applications during the early stages of the life cycle of the application, starting from the dev to the performance testing, then doing it on the prod deployment.
Wow. And so it's talking about all those different teams. Was there anything that you did different? So I'm assuming that the process would be the same, whether you're in finance, whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in cryptocurrency. So the involvement of all those different stakeholder teams, the dev team, and all the other departments that you worked with, was there any difference in how you executed this project in finance versus maybe how you would have executed it in a different industry?
Sure. The approach which we followed for this project program in the phase one,
Hmm.
the speed is of the essence, and we were given the mandate, how best, how quickly we can execute is going to benefit not only the organization, but to our end users and consumers as well. And
Hmm.
of course, the internal staff who are going to be adopting this new set of technologies. So we followed a hybrid approach. We
Okay.
let some of the teams do their work in an agile manner, but overarching the program management, the governance was done in a typical PDLC approach, so that we can ensure wherever the cross dependencies or the interdependencies among the pod, there is a gap. I, as a project manager, is there to help stitch the integration gap elimination is there,
Yeah.
and we're able to resolve the issues. And we had to deal with external vendors also when it comes to, because it's a cloud-based solution,
Sure,
where we
sure.
may be needing their support. We had to deal with some external staff which are not permanently involved within the organization. And then we had to deal with some of the situations where the teams were doing in a agile sprint approach, where the
Yeah.
requirements or changes are always welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we followed a hybrid approach in terms of executing this project. But as and when you get matured, you can tweak or twine your methodologies, whatever is the right at that point in time.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And so what I'm hearing, her energy, is that while there are some key differences maybe in finance, for the most part, it's a similar process that you would follow, right? A similar process you would follow in any industry or maybe any organization in which you are trying to, again, implement a project. There may be some waterfall, there may be some agile, it may be, so it could be a hybrid approach, or it could lean heavily on waterfall. It may lean heavily on just agile. So okay, thank you for sharing that, because yeah, I think I was curious about that, and I know a lot of listeners on the call are curious about that. So speaking about generative AI again, how did generative AI change, if at all? And I'm assuming it did make some significant changes, but did it change anything? Did it change at all the way you or the organization were making decisions? Did it change the way that you all collaborated with your customers?
Oh, absolutely. The tangible benefits, as I shared earlier, is, you know, improving the efficiencies, dropping the call handle rate. For example, imagine the scenario where you and me, we are talking to a call center agent, and if there is a wait time to the tune of, I'm just sharing that as an example,
Sure.
1 to 2 minutes, and it gets reduced to 1.5 minutes, and you are able to get the responses back quickly, you will go back as a very happy customer.
Yeah, yeah,
So with the Gen AI, the artificial intelligence capabilities can help provide the information which is scattered in the organization to the call center agent, or help strengthen them to providing the rightful information which you and me are seeking. I would say
yeah,
yes, the advantages are tremendous, and there are a lot of benefits to leverage this state-of-the-art technologies. And going forward, I see it getting expanded to the other areas of the organization, not only within my company.
yeah,
I can give you other examples. Like, I know few of the banks in US and few of the banks in Europe, they are leveraging the similar sort of capabilities and rolling it out not only for the benefit of external users like us, even for the benefit of the internal staff also, so that they can improve their efficiency when they are doing their day-to-day job and activities. So this has tremendous benefits, and I'm a strong advocate of that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. And so am I, Harinder. I talk about this all the time. So I use AI a lot to be more efficient and really to reduce some of those mundane tasks that as project managers that we often do, right? So taking notes, right? I know before AI, I thought I'm a pretty good note taker, but it was so collating the different notes that I've taken and then putting them into a document and sending them out. And I mean, it used to take me so much time. It's kind of embarrassing how much time it took me. And now, thanks to AI, I'm able to get my notes out faster. And then I've noticed that no matter, even though I think that I'm a great note taker, there are key points that AI picks up on that I may have missed. And so, I am a huge proponent of that. Something else I use AI for, which I talk about a lot, is I use it to create a very robust risk register. So I will share, if for my input, I will share. This is the type of project that I'm working on currently. These are some of the lessons that I learned in a similar project in the past. These are some of the high level risks that I have jogged or I've documented. What other risks am I not thinking of, or create a robust risk register for me. And so, and the output from the AI, it's absolutely fabulous. And I always think to myself as I'm reading through what the AI has created that, wow, I hadn't thought of that. And so I think it is a great tool. Of course, there are concerns about certain things, but uh, overwhelmingly, I think AI it's good, and I think it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, just to add on to the examples which you gave, if I have to add it from the financial or the banking perspective, imagine
Hmm.
the scenario when you are reading your credit card statement end of the month. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't remember this transaction, whether I did it, or imagine the scenario where you are getting alert right away. Hey, Perm, can you please validate this statement? Have you done this transaction?
Yeah.
Within the next 1 hour of happening that. So those are the kind of benefits or features this Gen AI can enable for people like yourself and me.
Yeah.
I'm giving that as a additional use case. Imagine the scenario where you are walking in into a branch and there is a chatbot sitting in. That chatbot has all the details of your profile, what sort of your spending habits are, what sort of your based on the data, of course, with all the privacy and the security aspects taken into consideration, and can give you a pointed advice or guidance where you
Yeah.
should be putting or investing or enhancing your whatever your financial income or other aspects are. So those are the kind of features I see those happening in the near future.
Okay, no, and I love that. And I am so excited to see what happens with AI in the future and the different use cases associated with it. And so, Parinderji, what is the biggest and just from what you've seen, what is the biggest misconception about the use of AI in banking or finance?
I would say there's a lot of awareness. Everything is there on the social media, even like Harvard Business Review. They are predicting significant investment happening in the next 10 years to the tune of 200 million dollar. So they are talking in
Wow.
big numbers.
Yeah.
So I would say there were initially some concerns, maybe 6 months, 1 year ago, that again in terms of the bias, the ethical bias, how can we can ensure the regulatory compliance?
Mm-hmm.
Because as and when we are progressing into this, the development of this technology and getting established, I see a lot of governance frameworks already coming into play within the financial segment, and all the regulator compliance bodies, they are coming up with a common framework, how
Okay.
to ensure, whatever the model we are picking in has been validated, not only the metrics which business is interested, typically they are interested in terms of, the speed, the latency factor, the performance factor. Apart from that, the other aspects. So the data engineers or the model engineers, they have a crucial role to play.
Okay.
If you have a strong and robust data engineer team within your organization, they can help become the conduit to the compliance as well as the regulators, ensuring it is meeting whatever is required. At the
Yeah.
same time, you have the robust security aspects there within the organization, doing the penetration testing, for example,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring your application is not vulnerable, and having those controls and measures, I don't think so. You will have any major challenges or roadblocks. Other aspect, if I may have to share, is have a multi-vendor approach. For example, if we are looking for a cloud-based solution rather than relying on a vendor, you can have a multi-cloud solution. Some of the applications you can onboard to a different cloud. Some of the application can be deployed on a different cloud. That way you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Oh, that is a great tip. I hadn't thought about that because I know For some of the organizations that I've worked in, they have only really worked with one or maybe two vendors, but I love that approach. That is such a great tip. Yeah, I hadn't considered that. And so Harinder, I want to, well, okay, I want to ask one more question about AI. I think AI is it is such a hot topic, and I think there are just folks are just so curious about it. I, for one, am definitely very curious about it. So when you were deploying or when in your industry, looking back, thinking about how the deployment went, is there anything that you would have maybe done differently? That looking back, thinking and thinking, and in hindsight, I wish I hadn't done this, or I wish I had done more of this.
Yeah, I kind of touched on that point. It's not like, doing differently. It's always when you are trying to adopt the new technologies or the new tool set, it always brings some challenges.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
point which I highlighted is rather than relying on a single vendor, if you have a multi-vendor, you as an organization always have more power
yeah,
to negotiate, discuss, rather than, uh, when I say discuss means the aspects which I touch upon in terms of the data hosting, data privacy, who's going to be the owner of, because those data, because when you are in a financial setup or in a healthcare setup, those becomes paramount parameters for you to be taken into consideration, because end of the day, all the privacy concerns or all the where the data is residing, you have the control of those aspects. So when you have multi-vendor approach or multi-vendor capabilities available to you, you as an organization is always in a commanding position, and you are able to get the maximum out of those vendors because they are willing or they are ready to serve you with the extra mile because they don't want to lose the business.
yeah.
And having a single vendor, sometimes they may try to get that impression as if we are there and we can just share whatever the capabilities or features are with some constraints.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love that you shared that. I agree. I think it's helpful to have a bigger vendor pool, right? Um, I'm going to use a silly example. This is what I equated to. So I'm from New Jersey, originally. That's where I grew up anyway. And I love getting my eyebrows threaded, right? And there are a dime a dozen salons that do eyebrow threading, right, in New Jersey. And so it's not uncommon to go and get your eyebrows threaded for $4, $4 US, because there are so many of these salons that do provide the same service. And so there's a lot of competition, right? And obviously they are trying to attract clientele. Whereas here, I now reside in Las Vegas. And in Las Vegas, there aren't as many eyebrow threading salons. There are very few. And so the ones that I do go to, they charge 15, $16 for that same service. But again, there's not that competition. So they hold the power. And so,
Absolutely.
right. And so
Absolutely.
I love that example that you shared. Um, and Harinder, I know we are getting to the end of our time. I did kind of want to I had to have two remaining questions, burning questions in my mind. So I wanted to ask you, well, firstly, I'll ask you this, and then I'll get to my last question. Can you tell me a little bit about, so this has nothing to do with Gen AI, but can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been like volunteering? Because I know you've held various leadership roles within the nonprofit space, but can you share what is the most exciting thing for you being a PMI volunteer?
Oh, absolutely. It is very close to my heart. I feel when you are involved or engaged in a volunteer organization, it gives you twofold benefits. Not only you are sharing the knowledge and experience which you have gone through as part of your career journey, you're also acquiring when you have a conversation or a dialogue with other person, you get to pick few things from them. So I got involved with our local chapter uh, almost 10 years ago when
Wow.
I
Wow.
came to Canada from Australia. I'm both Australian and Canadian citizen, and I had the flavor of serving the PMI uh, in like in Melbourne chapter also in Australia. But the day I landed at Canada, I decided from next month onwards, I want to get involved in the local PMI chapter. So it gave me the opportunity to get connected with the like-minded industry leaders,
Hmm.
build a lot of network. I started contributing in the mentoring program. For the last 5 years, I served in the various capacities in the board of PMI Lakeshore chapter. First 3 4 years as a director of professional development, two times like as a like I think now this is my second term as a vice president for the chapter. And in addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, I have been contributing and serving in the Toastmaster International for District 86 in our Mississauga chapter. I have been, as an area director, mentoring and nurturing around 4 to 5 clubs within my district. Those were the social clubs. But now, as part of my PMI Lakeshore chapter, I'm the president of our corporate club. That
Wow.
means only the members who are affiliated with our PMI Lakeshore chapter, they can come and join us. That this sort of platform gives us the opportunity to hone up and enhance our communication skills, which
Yeah.
is going to be very, very key skills when we are going to move into the era of Gen AI. So it also gives me the opportunity to continue enhancing my skill set and continue to enrich my vocabulary when I interact with like-minded professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I think the PMI community and the even the speaker community has just there's so many added benefits, right? To volunteering with and just being a part of that community. I know I have gained so much. Honestly, it's my experience has been invaluable. Um, but no, I think that that is incredible, and thank you for sharing that. And so the last question I have, Harinderji, and so I ask every one of my guests, I ask this question too. So when you were a little boy, I normally say 5 years old, but I'm not going to put an age on it. But when you were a little boy, Harinderji, so right now, right, you are this executive, this leader, but when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
That's a very tough question. I come from like that sort of background. I'll be very honest and candid here while responding to this question. When I was 5 year old, probably in the back of my mind, I wanted to become an engineer. The reason why I think so, because now I can do the little bit of retrospect. I was the one who used to pick. There was a radio my dad brought at home, and I was the one who just banged it with my hammer and then wanted to, then reassemble that. And it goes without saying, my dad thrashed me on that evening. And then suddenly realized, he said, hang on a minute, this guy has some engineering bent of mind. That subconsciously got registered into my mind, and I thought, okay, maybe uh, when I'm there in my grade 12, I will go for a stream which has those, aspects where you can learn, you can assemble, you can again reassemble those activities. And that's how I end up choosing the engineering stream. And I completed my BTech in computer science.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that from a young age, you just kind of knew what you wanted to do, which I mean, there are many of us, myself included, that for many, many years, even into adulthood, did not know what we wanted to do. So I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, Harinderji, I want to again thank you so very much for coming on this podcast and for being part of this episode. I am confident that our listeners are going to get so much value out of this. And again, am just so incredibly grateful to you and grateful to our audience who are going to listen in. So thank you again. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Sat Sri Akal.
Thank you. Thank you, Parmjit, Sasikal, and play is all mine. And I'm sure I look forward to have a further interaction and collaboration in the near future as well with yourself.
I look forward to it. Absolutely.
Thank you.